Hello, everybody, and welcome to Heart, fam. We have a special edition tonight, which is our Free to Succeed project. And my name is Anne Espuelas, and I'm the Director of Storytelling and Family Outreach at FAM. And we were here just about a month ago when we launched this program. Again, it's called the Free to Succeed project. And what our mission is, there are a lot of scary headlines out there about people who are coming out of prison and doing scary things. And we feel like these headlines, we know they're really alarmist, because for every one headline you see, there are thousands of people who are getting out of prison and doing really great things with their lives, leading productive, safe lives, making their communities stronger and safer. So we thought, okay, we gotta do something against those headlines. So we pulled together this project, Free to Succeed. And what it is a storytelling project. Every month, we focus on at least two people who are doing exactly what I said. They are free and they are succeeding. And they are free because of criminal justice reform. They got some kind of early release, whether it's clemency, compassionate release, sentencing reform, or a second look law. And I'm really pleased tonight. We are in month 2 of this project, and we've got two of my favorite people, Javier Reyes and Cecilia Cardenas. And they are joining me here from actually, well, I'll let them tell their stories themselves, but they are very near each other, and you can probably see the light is behind Cecilia there in the middle of the country, not on the East Coast. And so thank you both for joining us. And so if you could just let's start with you, Javier. If you could tell us a little bit about your story, how you got to prison, what that was like, how you got out early, and the basics of your sentence. I think what you got a 25-year sentence for robbery, and then you got out just above 60. You got out around 16 years, I think.
Yeah.
If you could tell that story yourself, that would be great. Thank you.
Well, hi everyone, and thank you for having me. In 2004, I was charged with conspiracy to commit bank robbery, conspiracy, and a charge which is in the feds. 924C is a gun charge, and it's in furtherance of, so it carries separate time with the other time. It's just a statute that exists like that in the feds. Um, I got a 25-year sentence, basically for exercising my right to trial. That's used as a punishment phase in the federal system when you exercise your right to go to trial. So having that experience and going to the feds, it really just really disconnected me from just everything. Not really having faith in our justice system, and even exercising your right was used as a penalty phase. Going into prison, you really, especially at my age with a 25-year sentence, you really don't have an outlook on anything positive.
How
Um,
old were you, Javier, when you went in?
34.
Oh, 34. Wow.
Yeah, I was just I would say that just really settling down in life, and made a poor choice in friends and decisions, which ultimately, just really cost a lot, more than what the crime was really worth,
Mm-hmm. And then, okay, so fast forward, how did you find out there might be a possibility of release, and how did you get released? What form did your second chance come in?
Um, there was a pending law that we were all watching real closely, which was the First Step Act. It made it to Congress a couple of times, but it would just never make it past a hurdle. And then it was signed into law, which took away the compassionate release, which is um, the jail had control of who was released based on compassionate release or post conviction rehabilitation or for extraordinary circumstances. With the First Step Act, that was taken away and given back to the courts. So it really gave judges that were bound by mandatory minimums and the law. It gave them a chance to really kind of right the wrong when they knew that sentences were too harsh on some of their cases, where they were able to revisit cases and based on the person's just post-conviction rehabilitation and the stuff they was doing in prison, that was looked at, and now it gave the judge an opportunity to kind of like even the playing field, knowing that the time did not fit the crime.
Yeah, yeah. Wow. Okay, so I always like to hear this. I can't believe I can't think I'm the only one. So you had 9 years left on your sentence.
Yes.
What can you talk about how you found out you were getting released and how that felt and what that day was like?
Oh wow. We were 2 months into COVID lockdown, 24/7. Imagine being locked in a room, no access to the world, not knowing what's going on around you. You hear of guards saying that other staff members are dying, inmates in other units are dying. You're locked in a room, and they had us on a COVID lockdown without any type of movement for the first 45 days. With restricted showers maybe once a week. So I get a knock on my door around 10 o'clock in the morning. And the only way you can get sick is by staff, because we don't go nowhere. We're locked in. Mm-hmm. So anytime someone came to the door, if they didn't have a mask or something, you're like, listen, get away from my door. So when he came, he said, hey, the counselor needs to see you. I'm like, listen, whatever the counselor needs to tell me, he can just send it in the form of a thing in the mail. I'm like, I'm cool. And then the counselor that case me, like, listen, I need to talk to you now. So when he took me into over, they told me that my compassionate release motion was approved, and I had a May 13th out date. So of course it freaked me out.
What month and year was it this now?
This was in April. This was April. This was April the 3rd. As we were talking, I said, can I call my mom? And of course he says, yeah. So I'm talking to my mom, and I said, Mom, you need to sit down, and she's like, what's going on? The first thing is like, what's wrong? And I'm like, my motion for compassionate release was granted. And she's like, what does that mean? Like, talk to me in Puerto Rican talk, So I'm like, Mommy, I'm going to come home. It says May 13th. So she's like, oh my God, let's start getting ready. So as I hung up the phone with my mom and I was talking to my case manager, the computer, like a glitch, and then my date changed and it started to blink immediate release. And I'm like, what's going on? He's like, and he looks like this. He's like, hey, you got to go back to your room. We got to get you. You're out of here right now. I'm like, what? I'm like, wait, what do you mean I'm out of here? He's like, yeah, they just changed it to immediate release. And I was given 2 hours to be out of their jail. So by noon, I was in front of the prison with just nowhere really to go. I didn't have a chance to really talk to no one. I didn't get the to get ready or to go somewhere. You know.
Yeah.
You're just like, get out of our jail and figure it out, buddy. After almost close to 17 years in prison. Wow. But I'm not complaining. I think that was the fastest shower I ever took. It was the fastest I've ever changed. I think I would have beat Superman.
Wow. Javier, that's incredible. That's intense. I'm so glad you told us that story. Okay, I'm going to come back to you, but Cecilia, I want to hear your story. I bet you can relate to some of what Javier was saying. If you can just tell us, a little bit about you.
Okay, so back in 2012, I got arrested for conspiracy of selling cocaine and crack cocaine. I got involved with that due to dating a man who was also selling drugs. And I got a 10-year sentence. I was a victim of the mandatory minimums as well. So that was kind of hard for me because there was nothing I could do besides cooperate. And what a lot of people don't understand is if you're not willing to say the narrative that they're looking for, then there's no point in cooperating. So it doesn't work as easy as everybody thinks. I ended up getting the First Step Act, and the Trump CARES Act first got me home on home confinement.
So how many years had you served? Sorry for interrupting, but how many years had you served before the First Act was passed?
7. 7 in prison. So I
Okay.
was able to
So
finish the remainder 2 at home.
So the First Step Act gave you home confinement because
No,
of
well, the Trump CARES Act gave me the home confinement.
right, the part of the, okay, gotcha. And you went on
Mhm.
home confinement, and that was in what year?
2020.
2020. Okay.
Mhm.
So you went home, you were on an ankle monitor,
Mhm.
and then you also because of the First Step, you got earned time credit, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So
Mhm.
you got a little bit of time off your
Yeah.
sentence.
I
Yeah.
should have gotten a year, but I got a month. Either way, I'm grateful.
Either way, you're grateful.
Yes.
Well, that's fantastic. Okay, so
Mhm.
so tell us your good news story. When you found out you were CARES Act home confinement, what did you think?
With the Trump CARES Act, the home confinement, I was at a point where I had already submitted a request 3 times to go home and I had been denied a few times. So I kind of had given up. I was sitting in a TV room trying to figure out what kind of job I was going to get while I was still in prison. And then I got called by my case manager and told that I was accepted to go home. So that was ecstatic. I was ecstatic, except I was a little nervous because I'd already been denied so many times. So I was like, man, is it real this time, or are they going to send me back, or what's going on? You know. So, but I called home. My mom was happy. She was excited. Like I said, none of us were really as too excited. We were hopeful, but
Yeah.
it was just a scary time. A lot of things were happening.
Yeah. Pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm so happy for both of you. Okay, so back to you, Javier. Well, before we talk about what you're doing now, I wanted to ask you a story that I love. Something that happened in you've already talked about how when you got to prison you were kind of mixed up. Something that happened to you in your 3rd year of prison. Something somebody said to you. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I was in Yazoo, Mississippi. It's a medium facility in actually the city Yazoo in the state of Mississippi. That's the name of the federal prison. Mr. Leroy Staley, he's the supervisor of recreation at that time. Um, he asked me one day just out the blues, have I done the best I can in life? And that question really it really took me apart because I could not find a yes to anything, nothing. I mean, I avoided rec for a whole week. I would ask myself, you wake up in the mirror, you brush your teeth, and then you look at you because you have to answer to that man in the mirror always, and no matter what. And I'm like, have you been a good father? No. Have you been the best dad? Absolutely not. I could not find a yes to any of those questions. And Mr. Staley sent us a staff member to come and get me from because I wasn't going to rec. I didn't want to face him. And when I did return back to rec, he asked me what happened, and I told him that I could not find a single yes to have I been the best at anything. And at that point, he said to me, I'm going to challenge you. I'm going to challenge you to change. And that's where this curriculum and my organization took birth at, from that conversation with Mr. Leroy Staley, a staff member. There's you have to. Everything's not always bad. You have good staff members and you have bad ones. The bad ones are far in between, but you do have staff members that go out of their way to kind of see the potential in people that you don't, because we're our biggest critics, and especially when we're in situations like that, we don't see the best of ourselves because you're not in an environment where you can find the best in yourself.
Yeah.
So he changed the dynamics of that, and that really took my life took it's a paradigm shift. It just happened, and I accepted it, and I think that's where we fall short when we see a lot of signs of things that we can do that are great, and we're too scared to do them because we think that we're not going to be accepted in that space. So this is not an easy a road because you're fighting a bad reputation, and it takes a long time to kind of change people's perspective on you, but it happens. Just don't give up.
Yeah. So you say a curriculum. So you started, you created this program called Challenge to Change that you would teach to other people in prison.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It had 5 subjects. The first one being institutionalized, and we picked that word because a lot of us use it freely, like, "Oh, you're institutionalized," as it was a bad thing. An institution could be anything, a university, a hospital, a school, So institutionalized is not a bad thing. And then we had a second topic. We had 5. The second one was healthy relationships. The third one was family. The fourth one was personal responsibility, and the fifth one was transformation. So at the end of these classes, then something had to have transformed in order for this program to have been successful. And we started off with 30 people the first class. The second class, it was over 60. And then it turned into a 1-year waiting list to be able to attend the class Challenge to Change.
Wow.
And then we branched off because guys would transfer and would write back to us and like, "Hey, can you send a curriculum? We want to teach the class." So when I left, we were in 5 institutions, and the BOP recognized it as a reentry class, which you can get credit for attending that class.
That's incredible. So you had a lot on your plate. You must have been a pretty busy guy.
Well, when you have time like that, you can either choose to be productive and see that institution as your community, or you can just fall into the mundane of being in a TV room all day, or just going to play basketball. People. One thing that we did in Lompoc, California, in their state prison, we created an intake form because we felt that we lost the most guys in the first 30 days of them coming into the institution. Because if they don't know their surroundings, like what's available in education, who their teachers are, and the opportunities in there that for work, you kind of lose them to different things, be it gangs or just we have guys that literally wake up and watch TV all day. Yeah. And then you have guys who are yard dogs who are just outside all day. So you can easily get lost in someone else's just way of doing time. So when we created this intake form, we saw an increase in people who attended school, less fights. We were able to see an improvement in the way the process and intake. But again, like everything else, it's really not valued because it's us teaching it, or it's us starting the curriculum, and it really doesn't go far because there's always someone in the back saying they're doing this for an ulterior motive versus for what it is. So those programs don't get it on a national level, or go, maybe to Washington where they do all the decisions for the BOP to be enacted, or to even give credit for guys who become tutors, who teach GED classes, who become foremans in Unicorn, and have, positions that would, out here would be deemed like in upper managerial, or professors. So none of those things are taken into consideration when guys are working really hard to really keep those communities safe, is what they're doing.
Wow. So talk about, so when you got out, you didn't want to leave that behind. So what did you do?
Wow. I was sitting on my bed, and it was like 9:00 at night. And I was saying, I need to be involved in some way with reentry. So I typed in reentry, and I got an organization called GOD, which is Giving Others Dreams. And her name is Celia Colon. Her phone number and everything was on this website. So I called it. And the first thing she said when I said hello, she goes, "Hi, hermano." She says, "Hi, brother." And we talked for 2 hours. She didn't know me, but she's system impacted. She receives the women that come out of all DOC come through Celia for care packages, just personal hygiene stuff.
This is in Illinois, right?
Yes. And she got me into everything that I'm into now. I started working for Chicago Votes. I was part of the group of folks that created a curriculum that's being taught throughout the Department of Correction on civic education. I wrote the instructor's manual. It seemed like I was in the right place every single time when I came home. It was incredible to know that this space now exists.
Yeah.
Whereas you were ashamed to say that, you did time, or, people looked at you like almost like if you had leprosy, because nobody wanted you in their schools, nobody wanted you in their jobs, nobody wants you in their good communities. Anytime that you had to apply for anything, there was a box you had to check if you were a felon. Like that really, like I was destined to be defined by my mistake. Like no one is forgiven here in this country, when you make a mistake. But we're the land of the free, who has the most people incarcerated.
Okay, so you restarted Challenge to Change on the outside, right? And that's what you're doing now?
Yes.
That's great.
But Challenge to Change just took a whole new life out here. It became Challenge to Change. It just, the name itself, it serves so many purposes, because we challenge people to change how they view their communities. We challenge people to change how they view law enforcement, how they view family, how they view words. Growing up in my neighborhood, words like love had different meanings. Words like loyalty had different meanings. Words like trust. Truly, the meanings that we have for it in our community were really distorted, because I would say that I love, but I would hurt that person, and that's really not love. Loyalty, wow, like I'm loyal to a certain group of people, but they didn't care if I ended up in jail or dead. So I had these words, I promise you, so distorted. I had a complete distorted meaning to what they really meant. And when Staley asked me that question, all of those things came into play. I started finding the true meaning to words. What it meant to just honor your word, to be respectful, to be humble in situations where at other times you would be aggressive. So it really changed, again, that paradigm shift. I felt like the universe just completely just shifted, and now I didn't have to pretend to be a person that I was anymore. I can be myself.
Wow, Javier, that's amazing. You're remarkable. So, Cecilia, I'm wondering your journey after you got your release. Is any of this resonating with you? And talk a little bit about what you've been doing since you got home.
Sure. So when I first got released, I had the ankle monitor on, and I know I mentioned this before to you, Anne. That was hard for me walking around like that for a year and 9 months, because you do feel ashamed, and you feel like everyone's staring and they're wondering, what did you do to get that? And so you don't feel like you're taken seriously. Once I got off of the home confinement phase and onto the probation phase, I was able to start a business, which I did. I started CC and Associates Financial, doing accounting, bookkeeping, payroll. And I'm currently working with a professor from school to start a nonprofit and a for-profit business to help people coming home from prison.
Wow. So were you already into finance before you went to prison?
No, I was into accounting, and I learned a little bit more while I was incarcerated. But it was something more so that I wanted to do when I came home. I was studying since 2018, I started studying, knowing I wanted to start a business when I came home.
Wow. So I can't imagine being home from prison and it's very hard to start a business. That's remarkable that you're doing that. Has it been as hard as you thought it would be, or?
No, actually, no. Luckily, I've had a great support system. And when I've told my story to the people that I have, they've been very receptive and very understanding. So I think I'm my biggest critic when it comes to that. And I just didn't realize that, for a long time.
Well, that's great. And you're in school, right?
Yes.
Yeah. How's that going?
I'm going to school at St. Ambrose University. It's going well. I was going for finance. I just switched over today to finish accounting so I could become a CPA.
That's great. Congratulations.
Yes. Thank you.
That's really great. So, and how has been getting back together with your family, spending more time with them? How's that been?
To be honest, that was a little difficult. I feel like I was having to, I had this image of every single person in my family and this idea of them from when I was incarcerated. So coming home 7 years later, it may not seem like a long time to someone else. However, I felt like I was getting to know my mother again, getting to know my brother, getting to know every single family member, and it was an adjustment.
I bet. I bet. Well, how is it now? Are you getting
Oh,
closer?
now it's good. Yes. Yeah. We're
Good.
really good, Yes.
They're probably all watching, so
Yeah. Yeah, they're my
Oh,
biggest supporters.
that's so good. I've met your mom, and she is very
Yes.
supportive. So I've got a question for both of you. Have you ever had the experience? You're just such shining lights, and you're so driven, both of you, and you seem to be really making a success of your re-entry. Have you ever come across people who have said to you, like, "Whoa, I can't believe you were in prison. I'm so surprised."
I definitely get that a lot. And it's almost kind of, I appreciate it because I don't want to look like I've been in prison. But then it's kind of, I feel disrespected at the same time too, because like, why do you think that a person has to look a certain way to have been incarcerated?
Right. Yeah. It's this idea that people have of
Mhm.
people who are in prison. It's what the headlines are telling us they are. And you
Mhm.
guys are absolutely not it. How about you, Javier? Have you ever encountered that?
Yeah. The mayor of Aurora, he gave me advice one day, and he said just
Wait, why? How did you back up? How did you happen to meet the mayor of Aurora? That's great.
oh, I've known him pre incarceration,
Oh, okay.
and he told me let people get to know you first, so that way they don't prejudge you. You know, and he goes, because you're an amazing person, and if they get to know you first, then and then I thought about that, and I'm like, it almost felt like when I used to be the person I was before. And I'm like, do I need to hide again? The person I am now. I mean, I can't take back anything that's happened. And I told myself, like, that's probably gonna weed out the people that I don't need in my life. So I'm just like,
Mhm.
I went to jail. This is who I am. And then the question that I would ask them, for those that feel that way, I'll ask them, are you the same person you were a year ago? Or 2 years ago? Imagine 3 years ago. Are you the same person? And everyone's, I'm sure, is gonna say no if they're truthful. And I'm not the same person I was that went to jail
Yeah. Yeah.
that long
Yeah.
ago.
Yeah. So well said. So well said. Cecilia, I've got a question for you. I heard you met Cory Booker. Can you talk about that?
Yes. So I recently went to the U.S. Senate Judiciary hearing on the oversight over Federal Bureau of Prisons. And I testified and told what I saw while I was incarcerated. And I was able to tell about my views on reform and just talk about some changes that I thought would be fit. But meeting Cory Booker was exciting. It was such an amazing time, and I think it was very important for me with my healing process and everything, the whole thing, and it just came as a surprise to me. I had no idea what I was going for, or what I was doing, or what I was signing up for. So it was exciting to see that it was something that was so meaningful for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, I'll say it. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Everybody at FAM says it. The most important, the most effective advocates we have are people like you. So thank you for coming to DC and that's a nerve-wracking thing to do.
It was.
I've never done it, but you're amazing. So I've got a question. You said healing. So you said you found that experience to be surprisingly healing for you.
Yes.
Javier, how have you been healed since you've returned? Or what has helped in your healing?
This space that exists now, the Cecilias of our communities, and the Celias, and the folks that are coming home and making a difference, because now this space exists. So you guys are going to have to get ready for the influx of heart to heart that you're going to have, because you have a lot of people who, for whatever reason, committed a crime. But that I promise you, it doesn't define who they truly are, but society does. And that's a shame. But the healing part is this, is just having the opportunity to be great, to be involved, to have a smooth transition, like back to your family. And Cecilia is she's acclimating to her family. Like she said, you have to get to re-know everyone again. I left babies, a son and a daughter who are grown, and I'm a grandpa now. And is my relationship perfect with them? No. Do I wish it was? Oh, absolutely. I miss my daughter more than anything in this world. Um, but it's this time, and in the BOP, in the Federal Bureau of Prison, you're sent all over the country. So as far as California, as far as New York, so when you're from Illinois and you're already not well off with money, so if you're in California, you can forget about visits. The disconnection from your family is you shouldn't continue to be punished. Your punishment phase is your sentence. Anything after that shouldn't be punishment. It should be a rehabilitative process. It should be to, keep you in communication with your family, to build on those relationships and to nurture, what brought you to that point in your life.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, this is
Yeah. Sounds like something like Challenge to Change will help a lot of people heal.
Yes.
So you mentioned families, and I want to ask both of you because, FAM is families. And I know there are a lot of families watching this. If you're, I'd like you to speak to those families now because they're worried about their loved ones in prison. They're worried about what happens when their loved ones come home. They probably want their loved ones to turn out like you, healing and living these lives of steady, stable lives that are productive and happy and helping society. So what would you tell the worried, scared families that are out there watching this? Cecilia, what would you say?
I would tell them to first and foremost show a lot of love and be patient with them. When we're in prison, we adapt to that environment. So now we're coming home and we're adapting to this new environment where we have so many options. And, when we're incarcerated, we don't. So it's like a new world to us, whether we want to admit it to ourselves or not. It is very, very different. And so I think for me, I needed a lot of space, prayer. I'm sure my family's prayed a lot too, So the support was the biggest thing, the support and the love, and not giving up on me and me not giving up on them, and wanting that unity as a family.
Right. And how would you tell? So would you? What kind of aside from being patient like that, families that have loved ones inside now, what would you tell them to do?
I would tell them to keep communicating and keep looking up. Well, I know right now they got a lot going on with the First Step Act and their dates changing. Keep up with that, make sure they follow up on laws that are coming through or changes that are made and communicate that with their loved ones. Visit them, answer the phone when they call, things like that.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And especially if there's children too. If there's children, make sure that they have that relationship. Yeah. I think I'm not a mother, but I've seen so many people come home and not know how to interact with children because we're separated from that world. All we see is adults for so many years. And that's hard. Even me with my niece and nephew, like, I have to remind them all the time, like, hey, I'm new to this, but.
That is a really good point. I never thought of that. I never thought of that. Thank you. Javier, how about you? What would you say to families watching?
I'm more on the advocacy side. Just support them. Stay diligent with the law changes and with your politicians, because ultimately they're the ones that can change things. And just stay involved. If there's an organization that and you can seek out like FAM, whoever's not, the resources are there for you to be more engaged. The families have to, if they're going to be part of the reentry process, then this is there's levels to this. And we're not saying for all families to be just, drop everything and wait for me to come home. But no, but just be involved and be patient. Like Celia said, because this is, we're in a situation, especially post COVID. The prison system and the way it operates has completely changed.
Mhm.
Not the same. So your limited movement, your limited phone calls, your limited showers, everything is limited. So just be involved with policy that affects the way prisons are ran and stuff like that is my advice to the families. Stay involved in that way because that helps the
Yeah.
most.
Yeah, I would agree. And there are so many ways for families to get involved and be advocates, many different ways, whether it's like coming to one of our rallies, coming to one of our lobby days, signing a petition, writing a letter to your lawmakers, and FAM makes that really easy on our website. So I hope if you are listening in your families and you don't quite know how to do what Javier and Cecilia are saying, you can go to our website and there's definitely a lot of explanation about that. Well, I think that's about it. Just if I'll give you both a couple minutes to wrap up, but your stories are amazing and so encouraging. Cecilia, would you like to leave with any final words about inspiration and hope? Because that's what you're all about.
I would just say, for those that are coming home and trying to figure their way, just figure out who you are and focus on what you're passionate about, and then move on from there. Whether you turn that into a career, turn that into a way to help other people, just stay true to yourself.
Mm-hmm. Great advice. Great advice. And how about you, Javier?
I'm gonna have to piggyback on Cecilia. Yeah, be yourself. Again, the space is here. Come home. Look at organizations that are doing stuff. You just get involved, and that's what we want to do with Challenge to Change. We want to give guys an opportunity to know exactly what's going on before they come home. So they'll know that these spaces do exist, to be able to go lobby in Springfield, to be involved in writing a bill, or to, just to understand the logistics of the civic engagement, to canvassing, phone banking. It's just so many different things that you can do to be involved in this, and not with direct service, but actually just being like Cecilia said, just running a business that can be used in our space.
Mm-hmm.
If I need an accountant, you better believe I'm going to Cecilia before I go to somebody. So we have to create a network where we don't have to go somewhere else to be treated, with disrespect or with injustice. When if I know that this person is a business that's owned by a system impacted person, then I'm going to support that business. So when we create a network and we create a base, then we can go to those power tables and ask for things and have these conversations at a higher level, just like FAM is even creating this space for us,
Right.
So it's amazing, and I'm super grateful and thank you to everyone over at FAM for just allowing us to have this space to tell our stories.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Javier. Right on. I love the idea of the network, and you're totally right. I'm going to use Cecilia as my accountant too. If you can read through my mess. Okay, so I hope that anybody, first of all, you both are amazing. Those headlines about people coming home and not being good people. Come on. Look at Cecilia and Javier. You guys are amazing, really remarkable. And the thing is, you're not alone. As Javier said, there's a big network of you. Mm-hmm. So I'm really, really pleased to meet you. And I'm so happy you shared your stories with us tonight. And I'm really inspired. I hope our audience is too. I'm sure they are. And you guys just keep kicking it. You're really amazing. So I think we'll wrap up. But thank you so much. It was really great talking to you both.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Cecilia.
Thank you, Javier.